something strange is unfolding around Meghan Markle, and this time it's not just another tabloid rumor. What's emerging goes deeper than fashion critiques or royal gossip. Megyn Kelly has reopened a storyline that's been lingering for years, and it may just be Meghan's biggest nightmare yet. It all began with a nostalgic video Meghan shared, showing herself as a child pretending to be queen. On the surface, it seemed innocent enough. But instead of making her appear more relatable, it sparked a storm of speculation. People didn't just watch the clip, they dissected it, frame by frame. And soon, the whispers began again, this time about her age. Officially, Meghan has always said she was born in 1981, placing her in her early 40s. But when researchers lined up public records, school photos, and reunion details, things didn't add up. What emerged wasn't one or two inconsistencies, but a series of mismatched dates, documents, and appearances. Megyn Kelly brought it all back into the spotlight with one particular photo, an old group shot from Northwestern University's salsa club. At first glance, it was nothing remarkable, just students hanging out. But most of the people in the picture were born in the early 70s, now in their 50s. If Meghan's official birth year is correct, she should have been nearly a decade younger. Yet in the photo, she blends in seamlessly, same style, same energy, same age group. Once you notice it, it's hard to unsee. And that photo is only one piece of the puzzle. When added to edited alumni listings, vague yearbook entries, and social circles that don't quite align, the picture starts to shift. Megyn Kelly voiced what many had only whispered: is Meghan Markle older than she claims? And if so, why lie? In Hollywood, shaving off a few years isn't unusual, it's almost expected. But Meghan's case is different. She's not just an actress, she's a duchess, part of one of the most scrutinized families in the world. If her official story was reshaped to present her as younger and fresher, it raises serious questions about how much of her narrative has been carefully constructed. Even her son Archie's birth certificate raised eyebrows. At first, it listed her full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Later, that was replaced with only her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. To some, it looked like a harmless formatting change. But on a legal document that official, edits like that aren't common. And if small details can be changed quietly, what else might have been? Taken together, it begins to look less like coincidence and more like a pattern, a curated image where inconvenient facts are smoothed away. Meghan has always been seen as someone who reinvents herself, but this feels bigger than a reinvention. This feels like a rewrite. And people are starting to notice. The deeper you look, the more it seems this isn't just about her age, it may be about an entire identity, carefully crafted from the ground up. From Hollywood beginnings to her royal chapter, every step of Meghan Markle's story has been carefully framed. She was cast as the underdog actress who found love with a prince, overcame adversity, and transformed into a global humanitarian. On the surface, it's a picture-perfect fairy tale. But when people start looking closer, the details don't always align. Alumni lists from her schools are being checked against old records. Former classmates are appearing in online forums, sharing hazy memories. One recalls seeing Meghan at a campus event in the late 90s, a timeline that doesn't quite fit. Another insists she was already working corporate jobs while supposedly still enrolled in college. Alone, these aren't damning facts. But together, they form a backdrop that feels increasingly difficult to ignore. Then there's Meghan's tone whenever she's asked about the basics. Instead of clearing things up, her interviews often leave more confusion behind. She's either vague or overly polished, much like her Oprah sit-down, dodging certain questions while pressing hard on others. When someone avoids simple answers but leans into emotional storytelling, it stirs curiosity. And when that person is already under the world's microscope, it fuels suspicion. Critics call it a witch hunt, arguing Meghan is targeted because she doesn't fit the traditional royal mold. But this scrutiny isn't about skin color, accent, or fashion, it's about whether the public has been sold a version of her that isn't entirely real. Intentional or not, more and more people feel her biography reads like fiction. And when people believe they've been misled, trust crumbles. Suddenly, it's not just tabloids asking questions, it's fans, journalists, even once loyal supporters. That's when words like PR stunt and narrative manipulation start entering the conversation. The danger is that Meghan's entire brand is built on authenticity, vulnerability, and truth-telling. If people start doubting that foundation, everything else wobbles. And it gets messier because Meghan hasn't only lived in the spotlight, she's weaponized it. She's sued tabloids, clapped back in documentaries, and positioned herself as a voice for silenced women. That kind of platform comes with responsibility. And when people feel manipulated by someone in that position, the backlash is harsh. Her early resume only adds fuel to the fire. Versions floating online list strange credits and messy timelines, overlapping jobs, inconsistent dates, even questionable geographic details. That might have been overlooked when she was just a struggling actress. But as a duchess, every detail is examined. And retroactive storytelling is dangerous. Once you're a global figure, nothing escapes scrutiny. A blurry timeline becomes a headline. A missing document sparks a conspiracy theory. Even a simple edit on a certificate feeds the fire. On this particular rumor, Meghan's silence is deafening. She hasn't denied it, hasn't clarified it, she's simply ignored it, perhaps hoping it fades like other controversies. But this one feels different. Because people aren't only asking what she might be hiding, they're starting to ask why. And that's the most dangerous question of all. What makes it stranger is how Meghan always seems just one step ahead of the truth, like she's rewriting the story before anyone else can catch up. Meghan often seems to anticipate questions before they're even asked, managing her image in ways that feel strategic rather than spontaneous. Carefully timed interviews, polished social media posts, even legal threats against the press, it all comes across as rehearsed, as if part of a larger script. That's why even the smallest inconsistencies spark attention. People aren't just asking what feels off anymore, they're wondering if anything we've been told was ever real. Take her schooling, for example. Officially, Meghan's timeline places her at Northwestern University in the late 90s and early 2000s. But old club rosters, archived newsletters, and casual photos hint at something different. They show her socializing with people much older, some of whom had already graduated years before she was supposedly enrolled. That's not a fluke, that's a red flag. And whenever someone tries to piece the puzzle together, another detail surfaces that doesn't quite fit. Her acting career has its own shadows. Some casting calls she claimed to attend weren't even active at the time she mentioned. Others were shot in places she was never tied to, yet her name appears on unofficial lists. Alone, these details could be brushed off as clerical errors or foggy memories. But stacked together, they form a smoke trail, and it feels like something's been burning quietly in the background for years. Then there's her digital footprint, or the lack of one. For someone born in 1981, the early 2000s should be full of MySpace photos, college blogs, or class forum posts. Yet almost nothing exists. It's as if her history was wiped clean before it could ever be found. In today's world, where even high school yearbooks live online, that absence feels deliberate. And when your public brand is built on transparency, erasing the past only invites suspicion. What unsettles people most is how much of Meghan's story relies on belief. You're expected to trust her word because it's delivered with polish, with conviction, with emotion. But when facts don't align, emotion isn't enough. Once people sense they've been manipulated, backlash comes fast and brutal. And that's what's happening now. Not just over her age, but because of what it might represent. If Meghan did adjust her birth year, whether to secure better roles, to fit the royal narrative, or to stay in control of her image, it suggests her story was edited at its very source. And if something as fundamental as her age can be altered, what else has been reshaped? Her upbringing, her relationships, even the details of her fallout with the royals? Nothing feels off-limits anymore. Doubt has crept in, and once it takes hold, it spreads. The irony is sharp. Meghan has long cast herself as the victim of media lies. But now, the question isn't whether the media lied about her, it's whether she lied to all of us.